It was amazing. It was one of the things that got me super bullish on the ecosystem. I just think there's going to be a lot of really incredible applications coming out of this, because I don't think anybody's got their heads around what this enables.
So we can just like move everything faster at a much faster pace.
When I saw that, that's what went through my head immediately is, oh, fuck, this is massive. Solana's been, what you've been building has been squarely on my radar screen as something truly incredible. So, well done for what you're doing. What I'd love to get, because we spoke several months ago, I'd love to get a broader update on where you are, what you're building, what's coming.
And what made it hard, it was like just kind of having to deal with all the FUD from FTX and kind of seeing the ecosystem have that shock. And like, it's hard, like you feel it, right? Like when something like that happens, it's like really gut wrenching and like felt like, you get stabbed in the back. It just sucks. But what made it easy is that like a lot of the folks, both in the ecosystem and at labs and foundation that have been like here for like 4 years or so, like that have been here for a while.
It was amazing. It was one of the things that got me super bullish on the ecosystem, even though I've been a token holder for a long time, was seeing how the community dealt with the aftermath. It was incredible, right? What has happened? What the hell has happened to the Sol ecosystem this year? So you get through that crisis, the community gets together, and it explodes.
Yeah, like first of all, like what is the community? It's not there's no like list, right? There's no like single org or anything like that. It's a bunch of people that choose to go build on Solana because there's something that they like about it. And there was this public perception prior, right, that like the only reason people built on Solana was because of SBF. At least that was like a lot of the, let's say Ethereum maxis on Twitter would try to spin that narrative. When in reality, like reality is far different. Like people have done surveys, like what percentage of devs had even investments from Alameda. It wasn't anywhere near even the majority.
One of the things that I've always observed about the Solana ecosystem is how much applications layer stuff is being built. That I think is a big differentiator to me, and people migrating onto it, Helium, stuff like that, Hive Mapper, even Backpack, all of this is something different. Why is that happening and what is going on there?
Yeah, so we actually sold scale, like no bullshit. That's why. Is that the chain is cheap and fast and has large capacity. Recently, I think you saw like somebody built this new NFT token standard. And because of that, the network did like 3 times more transactions a day, went from like 18 million to 50 million transactions for the day when this thing launched. And there were no problems on chain. So we actually solved scale to a very, very like impactful amount of capacity, like where we've never hit a limit to where transaction fees globally have spiked, which in my mind, that's a failure point in a communication network, is when you're saturated. Everything that we focus on is not scaling technologies, it's application level technologies. All the devs, all the investments is into applications. How do we actually build stuff that people use?
I don't think yet people understand how big the compressed NFTs are. We've seen Drip House, they're kind of thinking, most people just think of NFTs as, the usual kind of art or PFPs. I'm like, no, this is solved kind of unique smart contracts at scale that could work for ticketing, could work for anything. How are you thinking through that?
It's a technology to track assets on chain without using a lot of state, and state is expensive. And it can be generalized to many things, but NFTs were like kind of the first use case that people really desperately wanted this, because there are applications like ticketing, like loyalty points, all sorts of different things that could really, really use a very, very cheap blockchain that can track assets very cheaply. So
I just think there's going to be a lot of really incredible applications coming out of this, because I don't think anybody's got their heads around what this enables.
Google,
the
Apple,
big shame is that Instagram didn't continue on the I'm sure they'll come back. I'm sure they will. But that was a big shame, right? Because That was so close.
So like compressed NFTs would have been perfect for them. And I think Drip House basically like is demonstrating that the Instagram model would work, which is awesome. So like, yeah, I hope they're watching like what the ecosystem is doing. To me, like that just really, really good to see in the long term. But obviously like DeFi is the most important app, I think, for crypto. It's the biggest innovation, I think, that crypto brought to the world. It's the one that's the hardest for adoption because this is software eating part of finance that humans really, really do not want to give up control of. They like being the middleman and earning like a 3 percentage point off somebody else's money, right? Like if software can do it for 10 times less, that like they don't like to give that up. But I think it's inevitable. There's just no way that within 20 years, whatever, 50 years, that all this stuff isn't running on software. Would be absurd.
And I think it'll be faster because I think the financial community knows this as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not stupid, right? JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, Blackstone, Apollo. I mean, they all know it. They all know it. And they've all got teams building. I'm sure that these big pools of capital will become liquidity providers in DeFi world to get returns, stuff like that. And that's a game changer. And that's what I love about this space. Like it learns, there's failure. Out of failure is this unbelievably fast product cycle, of which they then look at where it failed, rebuild, and it keeps learning. You see it all the time. It's incredible.
Probably the fastest industry, I think. I mean, it's definitely the fastest one I've ever been a part of.
AI is pretty scary fast.
I honestly think product cycles in crypto are faster.
Because also, because of how you can raise capital and go to market, it's such a fast cycle that it just breeds innovation. People understand failure risk. And that net, the space just keeps growing over time. Let's talk about Firedancer, because I think this is another, like the compressed NFTs, this is such a big change. Talk us through the story of it and what it does.
I think of decentralization in a very kind of measurable way. I think it's very important to try to ground it in like some reality. So in my mind, it has to be observably measurable. And the point of it is fault tolerance. It's kind of, it's obvious to me, but it's just how likely is it that the network has this irrecoverable, horrible failure, right? And making something more decentralized means removing single points of failure.
Firedancer's speed is a different order of magnitude, isn't it?
Yeah. So like, it's the same exact design. This is kind of what people don't understand. It's not like Solana 2.0. It's literally is the same implementation of Solana. It's just they're able to spend the time to take the different components and test them to a much larger network bandwidth throughput. And because they're able to do this one component at a time, they can see the bottlenecks in the algorithms and identify them and kind of restructure them if they need to, or if there is actually like some algorithm that needs to be changed, there's a process now to propose those changes and then get them accepted and get like labs and Firedancer to agree on those algorithms. So far, they haven't needed to do that.
Theoretically, this Firedancer raises the TPS to kind of 10x where it is now. Is that the right understanding of it, or is it not?
Yeah, that's what they can show. They can prove that the TPS can be raised to that capacity if the mainnet validators have the right hardware. So if they can prove the software works at that limit, right, then all it takes is for the mainnet validators to go get that hardware, and that will eventually happen even if we do nothing. Because your hardware gets old, you're forced to upgrade by your data center. My guess is that if there's demand to the point that like there's so much users coming onto crypto, coming onto Solana, that now hardware is the limiting factor, it's going to be the easiest thing for people to upgrade
solvable.
Because you can literally just order it from Amazon and go put it in your box.
You guys have done the deal with Visa and stuff like that, but Visa's TPS is not like high frequency trading TPS or traditional exchanges and all the big securities market. When I saw that, that's what went through my head immediately is, oh fuck, this is massive because this is what the securities industry needs.
That's the goal. Like, I think there is this dream. It's kind of a science fiction, not like how realistic is it? As realistic as Google's dream to index all of the world, right? And they did it. But it is a dream that you could have a single giant, like hyper optimized atomic state machine that's synchronized at the speed of light around the world, meaning that like soon as some financial event happens, like in Singapore, it starts propagating around the world to every other node. And it's like that information is just like, imagine going through speed of light through fiber to everywhere else. That system exists, and it's Solana, and it scales to both support Visa and Nasdaq at the same time, and NFTs and Jupiter and all this stuff in a single atomic composable computer. Because the benefit of that, I think, is just kind of like astounding for finance. So imagine if you were like at exchanging foreign currency at the airport, and you had 20 cents to change into 20 euros, and you went to 5 different markets because it's cheaper that way. You can't do that because they all have a flat fee that they charge. It's, like at least $1, right? Like, so those are the inefficiencies of the real world financial system. 1,000 years from now, and like in utopia, right? Like, how does finance run? It's in one giant computer that's extremely fault tolerant with a bajillion different implementations and like nodes, and it's all synchronized at the speed of light. And there's zero cost to talk to as many financial systems as you want in a single transaction. I
don't know if it was you said this or somebody talks about this, is a lot of people in crypto don't understand how fast and how many transactions happen in TradFi.
I wish the US was just like a little faster, because what should be happening is that US should be passing like the market structure bill, the stablecoin bill, and then telling Europe and everyone else, follow these guidelines and standardize on them, so we can just like move everything faster at a much faster pace.
So what gets you most excited about the space overall and Solana over the next 2 years? Because it feels like, the 2-year cycle, this is going to be the madness, the opportunity. My general idea is this is the everything, everywhere, all at once, where we're going to see a lot of applications. For me, there's going to be a lot of applications layer stuff this time around. That's all of that VC money, the 67 billion that went in 2020, 2021 into all of crypto. I think just a large proportion of that will end up being applications, which will be a game changer. Totally, listen, fantastic to catch up with you, and good luck for the next couple of years. Let's see where we get to. I just think it's going to be very interesting. And I just think it's fascinating what's being built. Things like Helium, where you've got a telecom network being built on top of Solana with a reward system, or Hive Mapper, which is a hive mind, Google Maps. Or you've got exchanges being built. You've got Drip House sending out millions of NFTs. And this is just the start of what the technology is going to enable. So this is a story of technology, but it's also the story of how technology can enable mass adoption. And to me, the Solana space is definitely one to keep your eye on.